Hello everyone. In today's episode, I'm joined with Daanish, and in today's episode, we're going to be hearing about his ulcerative colitis journey, and it's going to be a really nice chat. So thank you so much for joining me today, Daanish.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, because we kind of planned and we planned this for a while, and then I think we cancelled a lot, and then here we are.
Yeah, scheduling and all that stuff. It can be a little bit, tricky.
Yeah. But how are you doing at the moment?
Good, man. Actually, great at this point. Just the IBD stuff has been staying at bay, like we all want. Pelvic floor issues are good. And I've actually kind of ventured off into acupuncture and chiropractic as well. So I'm getting adjusted, testing out the different sides of medicine, I guess you can say.
Yeah. I suppose it's always nice to try new things, but annoying as well, I suppose. Because you don't really. I think the aim is not to be on any medication at all. That'd be nice. but yeah, if something works, it's worth it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm still on the Humira. I've been on that. Well, I haven't had any. Well, I've had problems, but not problems enough to have to move on another medication, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you could talk about your ulcerative colitis from the start, I suppose, from your diagnosis.
Sure. So when I was 22, I first started having symptoms. Doctors kept telling me it was hemorrhoids, other stuff that my primary practitioner at the time took forever to send me to a specialist. He kept giving me all these different kind of bowel cleansing type medication, and nothing was working. It was actually at some point making it worse because the stomach pain started increasing with it. And then eventually, when it started hitting the peak of 110 pounds, he was like, "Yeah, I have to send you to a specialist. You're not very healthy right now." So the doctor just looked at me. He was like, "It looked like you have UC." And I was just like, "Well, how did you know that from just looking at me?" He was like, "The symptoms you're telling me are all point to that direction." So I was like, "Okay." So they did their colonoscopy at that time when I had it, and turns out he was right on the dot. So he started me on Lyalta for the first 6 months. I don't know what it was with medication. It just, none of them were able to last with me long term. And so there was a stretch where I was on prednisone for almost a year and developed osteoporosis, alopecia, and then eventually C. diff. C. diff was the biggest concern because I was told that and my immune system couldn't fight it because the prednisone had completely shot my immune system. So my only option was surgery. I had a really hard time with the ostomy bag, temporary, just from a mental standpoint, and figuring it out. I commend all those people that are living with it today and just full of life. It was one of those hardest moments to deal with for me. And so I chose to go with the J pouch. Granted, it also gave me my problems, but I think the biggest thing I've dealt with from the J pouch is probably the pelvic floor problems, which I'm dealing with suppositories. But yeah, long story short, that's pretty much what has transpired with IBD in me.
Yeah. Lots of things that come along with it, like IBD. Sometimes you don't expect, and sometimes you always have a gut instinct, I suppose, what could happen. You always think that with any medication you try, or especially if you're in a flare, you always think the worst of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's good to hear you're doing it right now. like at the moment?
Yeah, the biggest thing I take from this whole thing is our accountability for taking care of ourselves, whether it's exercising, eating what works for us, not what's healthy, but what works for us. And that's the biggest thing that is kind of mis uh, misread, is that people say you need to eat healthy. Well, for us, eating healthy may not be what's for other people. For us, it could be just eating chicken and rice all day, So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, it should. It's like you say, you should eat just what works for you, but I suppose not like a takeout if that works for you all the time. Meaning
yeah,
like it's a nice treat, I suppose, if you have one every once in a while. But still, like fitness is important. Like you can, I know it's hard if you're in a flare to have fitness because you're in pain all the time, and it's you think of the worst of things. But like for example, um, I can eat mostly anything that I can try, but like, I can't eat like spicy foods. I've learned to deal with them as well. So I did like them, but not working. They don't really work for me. But for other people, it might do. Like people say, healthy foods are vegetables and fruits. Some people might not be able to have that. Um, like they maybe have to have chips, like or chips. That works for them. But I think through the years to go by, we probably may be able to go back to the food that hasn't worked for us and try them again. And it might work because like everything changes. Yeah.
the interesting thing, at least for me, is I surrounded myself with people that wanted to take the initiative to help when it comes to my fitness journey. My trainer, actually, the first day I met him, wasn't sure how to help me with my ailment. So he actually himself looked up uh, the um, the disease itself and tried to figure out ways he can help me. And that type of support system, when it comes to what you're trying to achieve, is very vital for any type of fitness journey you're trying to embark on. And with me now, I take a liquid veggie shake that actually have probiotics in them. So it helps me with my gut health. And even the protein shakes I take, they also carry probiotics. So it's it means so much more when you can have a support system that can carry you through your journey instead of trying to aim you to what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, yeah, it's always good to have those supportive people there to help you, like not so you can see people doing well and try and copy them. Just get those support people that that want to help, um, because and give you good advice as well. That that helps.
Yeah, and it's I think the biggest part for me, it's because there's so much clutter in social media nowadays with how we're supposed to look, not what makes us feel good. And too many people have this idea that I have to look a certain way instead of loving who they are as they are.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think, like with social media, I think it's always nice to not go on it for a few days. Sometimes. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, and then when you're back on it, you get all these notifications that you've missed. I suppose that's a nice thing. I suppose that you've missed quite a lot of things, um, but some people feel like posting things helps them, and some
Yeah.
people feel like it's not. Um, and that's why everyone has a different journey, and everyone and shares it how they want to, because not everyone does speak about their journey and their tell other people about it, but I suppose that takes time. Like I know I didn't straight away. I didn't talk about my Crohn's um, straight away, but I did a little bit, but not like fully to people. But it's easier when you know people that have the same condition that you have as well.
Right. I think my biggest thing was in the beginning, I felt like I had to use my IBD as a crutch to uh, engage with people so they knew exactly what I was dealing with instead of kind of forcing me to do things with them. And granted, it was definitely an insecurity. I was actually talking with a friend of mine about it, and he told me that same thing. Like, we never felt like you had to tell us. We were happy you did, but it's not something that um, we label you as, as a sick person.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Like, so I suppose telling other people that don't have it themselves is hard because they know they're not going to understand. They probably say they do, but they don't fully understand. But you sometimes you'll get people who maybe take the mickey a little bit. But I always do think it's always good to have a laugh about it on your good days.
Yeah.
Because we don't I always say don't want to feel sorry for ourselves all the time. um, like I don't go moaning about it unless I need to. um, to my friends, I don't go say, "Look at me, I've got Crohn's or something." But it is during a pandemic, it is hard for other people to still understand. But even though there's a pandemic going on, you have people partying and stuff like that. But
Right.
yeah, it's hard to speak about it. But once you say it to one person, I think it gets easier.
Yeah. At the same time, you want to recognize too that um, it it's your disease, but it's not who you are.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, and I
yeah,
think that was one of my biggest things that I struggled with in the beginning, especially because I wasn't used to telling people about it, and it took someone to actually tell me, like, yo, you don't have to, like, you don't have to use that as your icebreaker for people because, you know, not everyone deserves that secret, that type of attention. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. But I think nowadays you hear it quite a lot more. People getting diagnosed,
Oh
um,
yeah.
and it's not always revolved around your journey. I think it's important to speak about it, but it's always important not to, like, like you say, like you're not you're not your disease, but you should be more than just a disease because I love raising awareness about it because like it helps talking to other people that have it as well. But talking to maybe one of my friends about it, they won't understand it as much.
Right. And I mean, this is just my approach and how I've handled it
Mm.
with everything versus like pelvic floor or back when I had you see the flare ups. I and this might be a little bit on the intense side, but I sign a contract with myself about self abandonment and tell myself that no matter how I'm feeling that day, I am not going to I'm not going to make myself feel bad for what I'm going through because the first part of it is mental. And whether it's I can go for a mile walk, or I can go to the gym and do some squats, something. I am not going to break the mindset that I'm going to do my part in trying to make myself feel better. The body's going to do what it has to. And so if I need medication for it, so be it. But I'm going to hold myself accountable for what I need to take care of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like with my Crohn's, I can't eat. Well, I can't drink caffeine. I suppose it's not a bad thing, because but I suppose it is if you are kept up a lot at the night, which like well, if possible with caffeine, that would be the case. But like I still drink the drinks that would involve caffeine, like sometimes like coffee. I'll have a decaf. Um, I like that, like no caffeine, like 7 Up, Pepsi, Coke, like stuff like that. But yeah, because for me, I don't taste the difference between the two, like caffeine and non-caffeine stuff. Um, but other people will, which is quite funny. I find other people think it's the same, or it's not the same. Sorry, but I don't mind not drinking caffeine. I did quite miss the spicy food bit, because I did like chili sauce quite a bit. I was put all over my food sometimes, and now I can't, which I got used to. But yeah, I think those are the things that you have to deal with. I suppose the nice things that you liked before you was diagnosed, and unfortunately, you may not have it all the time now.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because when you change your diet after you've been diagnosed and just kind of cut those small things out, like when I eat stuff like Burger King now not once in a while, I feel so gross and just like heavy after eating it because um of the processed food, It's and this is just me, but it's I kind of feel sick in a different way. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I do remember the bloating. Like I remember because I struggled to eat uh
Yeah.
slightly before I was diagnosed. Like I couldn't. I I put a few monthfuls and then I was full, and I had some pain as well, which and then I went hungry, but I wanted to eat. It's hard when you can't, I suppose. But especially if you have a plate full in front of you and you can't maybe try one mouthful at best,
Right.
and then you can't eat the rest. And I
All it
was,
takes is that one.
yeah, I was put on the liquid drinks, but I didn't like them, so I wasn't winning. But I was put on steroids, and then I went from there on to other sets of medication. But it was nice to get off steroids eventually because no one likes steroids, to be on that. but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like people at school like didn't really notice much. Like the escorts who took me in and out didn't really notice the difference and why I was gone and stuff. But yeah, I suppose that's why it's called an invisible illness. um, but yeah, like what made you like start talking about your like journey?
So the culture that I come from, South Asian culture, is a culture that doesn't pay attention to things like ailments. So whether it's mental health, whether it's gut health, whether you, they are very, God, I hate to say this word, but judgmental. They expect a proper presentation of who you are. And when I say proper, I mean you can't have any imperfections. And so, like, let's say you talk about gut health or mental health, you are automatically labeled as a sick person. And I mean that in a negative way. I don't mean that as a person who's a fighter, survivor. I
Mm.
mean that the way that you should stay away from that person. He has problems. And me being Pakistani and Indian, um, any Indian or Pakistani person will tell you that talking about mental health or any type of ailment is frowned upon in our culture. So um, being able to finally talk about it, seeing all these people who are doing it and showing support towards it, it opened up a gate for me that I didn't have when I had IBD, because I kind of found it I had to suffer in silence. I could never actually talk about it and be like, I'm sick, because I was branded as that person that, oh, he's sick. No.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that's what made me talk about it.
yeah. I'm not, it's good that you did, because like it must have been hard not like to speak about because of the culture, um, and everyone like being mean and saying it's sick in a bad way, like stay away from that person, like, almost like it's contagious. Um, I'd say, but yeah, it's that must have been hard not to like, because you said you was diagnosed at a quite young age, 22. So it must have been hard, and like like was it straight away, like after your diagnosis, you decided to speak about it, or did it take a couple of time?
It took almost 8 years to talk about it.
Okay, yeah,
My friends knew about it, people close to me knew about it, but I had never openly spoke about it. And seeing people of my culture talking about it also gave me the support to talk about it, because in all honesty, no one deserves to suffer in silence,
no,
whatever you're going through. It's always good to get help and talk to someone.
yeah, yeah. It's good that you did, because like it's a ulcerative colitis, IBD, Crohn's. They're not um, illnesses to suffer in silence with, because the more you do, the more it could get worse. Um, that's why it's always good to see someone like in a flare, for example. You see it quick until like your IBD nurses or consultants, they can see what it is, and even if it's nothing too serious, that it might not be too serious that you think, but if there's just a little thing, it's always good um, to just to get it checked. And everyone who's an IBD patient like will know, like you have to kind of fight for yourself. Even if there's IBD nurses and people that work in the area that that you see, it's important to just um, be your be your own consultant, I suppose. If you feel like you don't want to do something, the people who always are there to advise you. It's not like 100% you have to. Like I remember I was advised to have Humira straight away. It was going to be my first, but biologic, and I didn't want to start with Humira. I started with an infliximab, um, and that didn't work after a year. So um, maybe they predicted that. I don't know, but I didn't want to do Humira injection straight away. But as I am on now, but it was either I wanted to go in hospital. It was a good job I did, because I wasn't a pandemic back then. And since I was on Humira, I think shortly after pandemic started, so it was best for me to be at home rather than going to hospitals and stuff.
When you started Humira, was having to inject yourself in the beginning kind of troubling?
Um, the funny thing is, I've never injected myself. I've always got someone to do it, but I need to. Uh, Probably this year, I would say, try and inject myself. But it's hard to do it, because I suppose you're afraid something's going wrong, and it's hard enough watching someone do it for me. If it goes wrong, I'll panic, and I won't be pleased. Say that, but
Right.
like in the past, it's gone wrong a couple of times. Funny now, but like for example, an injection went in once, thinking that it's gone in, uh, and then it goes out, everything leaks, and thinking half might have gone in and half not. So having to make a decision and ringing people up. Um, and I normally have mine on an eve. I used to have mine in the evening, but now I have them in the afternoon. So about 12 o'clock on every Thursday now. I have it, but yeah, like I suppose injecting yourself is much harder than getting someone to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. When Humira first came out, that's when I was actually trying to get on that medication, but it was denied to me from medical insurance because I had UC and not Crohn's. It had only been, I guess, tested for people with Crohn's. And because I had UC, it was a long shot, and my insurance denied me. But I think it was a kind of a, not like anything against people who are on Humira, but it was a blessing in disguise because then I had the surgery,
Mm.
and the flare up part of my life was kind of behind me. I do deal with with arthritis symptoms every now and then, but I can say fully that it was probably the best decision I made going with the surgery instead of trying another medication.
Yeah, yeah. Like I've never had surgery with my Crohn's. Um, yet I say yeah, I probably will. I always say I probably will because of the like the numbers of people when I was diagnosed when I was 16. So I can only imagine I will some point in my lifetime have surgery. Because like the amount of people that have it when they're young, um, more or less have it. But I hope not. Be
Not
nice.
that one. I hope you never do, man.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I've never had stoma. I've never had surgery. I suppose I'm quite lucky not to have that yet. Um, because like this year I'll be 21. So um, hopefully it's a good year. not um, not on the 21st birthday, haven't have anything like that, or the medication stays. But um, I'm told like I have to stay on this medication a fair few years to come off it. Meaning coming off it, meaning maybe not go on any medication. Um, but hopefully, um, medication still works this year, and for you as well. Like hopefully, no flares this year.
Have you? Did you ever start stuff like Stellara or anything like that yet?
Um, the only medications I've been on since I had Crohn's, like the first one was steroids, um,
Hmm.
which I started, and went off that. And I've always been on azathioprine, um, ever since I was diagnosed. Still on it now. I take vitamin D, B12, um, for fatigue,
Right.
and after that, first biologic was infliximab, um, and then after a year that was Humira. So um, but the medication I am that like Humira is what cancer patients take. So that puts me at a very high risk of being vulnerable to catching different things.
Yeah.
Not just COVID, even though COVID's always a worry. I've never had it. I've never had COVID, so that's probably because I don't see people as much as I did. Um, but hopefully COVID dies down this year a little bit more.
Hope so.
Yeah, yeah. We say this every year though. I've said it last year and the year before that, but fingers crossed.
This new variant, the Omicron variant, sounded like they took a name out of a Transformer movie and made it
Oh yeah,
into a variant.
yeah, yeah. It looks like that. Like yeah, like I don't know where they get all these names from.
Yeah,
Like
tell me
like,
about it.
there'd be one from Spider-Man next.
The
But
Green Goblin variant.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, like all these variants, like there's gonna be another, I reckon. After this Omicron one, there'll be another one. It's gonna happen. Like that's how a virus works. There's always gonna have variants. Um, but yeah, like it's I suppose like the mental side of things. like with the mental health side, it can be affect you quite a lot with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, IBD in general, but as well as a pandemic on top, it can make it maybe a little bit worse as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I suppose it's hard for other people to understand why maybe why you can't see people, why you're not seeing people. Like recently, I got invited to a birthday party. So someone had a birthday party to go bowling. And I said no, I can't. I can't go because like bowling. I would go if there was no one in the alleys or something like that. So stuff I would normally do, I have to say no to. But that's why I try to do things that keep me occupied. For example, like this podcast, talk to different people, talk to other people in the community, and doing different videos of things you like. But yeah, mental health is I suppose it gets more talked about now. I've seen during the pandemic people talk about it more, which is good. But yeah, it's just another. It's almost talking about like an illness, mental health, because it takes time.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I'm sure it's talked about a lot, but it's still good to remind people that your mental health is just as important as your gut health, because they're like brothers. One's upset, the other one gets upset too.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But yeah, well, it's been a really good chat, Daanish. But just one last thing to finish up. Is there like any advice you'd give to other people that we haven't spoke about yet?
Yeah. Let's see. Take care of what you can. And when I say that, I mean, don't beat yourself up because you are in a flare up or dealing with something mentally, because that's only adding to what you're dealing with. You're not doing yourself any good by getting frustrated with yourself. Be patient with yourself, give yourself time to heal, and in the end, remember that you are doing everything you can to make yourself feel good.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's some really good advice, and it was nice to chat to you again. Because I know I was on a few of your Instagram lives. Like your Instagram lives, a series that you do, which is great. But yeah, it's good we finally chatted because we arranged this for a while.
We have.
Yeah, I think it was maybe middle of last year we first discussed this, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot has changed in life. What can I say?
yeah, yeah. That's what happens when you have a chronic illness,
Hey,
like Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. You have to cancel, and you have to, but like make sure you're doing all right as well.
preaching to the choir, brother.
Yeah. Well, it's nice speaking to you again, Daanish, and it was really nice talking to you.
You too, man.